Well, we have a new student with us today.
But everyone calls me Maddie.
Welcome to the Split River High Afterlife Support Group.
Look at me. Nicole.
They can't see you.
Nothing ever changes here.
I need to know what happened.
Let the people in charge.
I found something. Twisted.
This girl, Maddie, realized she was trapped in her school because as soon as she stepped outside the school area, she would immediately find herself back at the school's incinerator. She tried repeatedly to leave, but no matter what she did, she always ended up back at the same place. Curious about what secrets it might hold, she observed the incinerator and noticed bloodstains and police markings. Maddie decided to ask her best friend about it, but strangely, her friend couldn't hear her. Even stranger, her best friend had posted a missing person flyer for her. Maddie went to the gym, thinking she could ask more people there, only to find the students and teachers were holding a funeral for her. Maddie, a student at the school, had a boyfriend and close friends, but one day after class, she found herself transformed. Surprised, she was about to ask about it when a student named Charlie approached her and told her she was dead, and it was just her first day in this world. Skeptical, Charlie took her to the sports hall, where many other deceased people like them gathered. A teacher approached Maddie, explaining that their souls were trapped in the school because they had died unjustly. Maddie introduced herself saying, "I don't know why I died. Maybe I was murdered. All I know is there was blood on the wall of the incinerator room, and suddenly I was here." This revelation shocked everyone, as no cause of death or murderer was identified, and no body was found. Maddie and Charlie went to the last place she remembered being alive. That day, after leaving a meeting, she had planned to meet her boyfriend Xavier at the parking lot, but he excused himself, claiming his phone was dead. However, Maddie found his phone still had battery and took a picture as proof, but the phone died as soon as she used it. Xavier came up the stairs, but he couldn't see her. Later, Maddie saw someone had vandalized her missing person flyer. She tore it up in anger, but it was futile. Charlie said this was normal since they were in different worlds. He advised her to accept her death, but Maddie, still in disbelief, followed him to a meeting room. There, her friend Simon angrily refused to believe Maddie had died. Xavier didn't act after Maddie disappeared, making Simon suspect him. They fought, and during the scuffle, Xavier's bag fell, spilling its contents including Maddie's phone. Why did he have her phone? This was a clue that surprised everyone. Keeping the dead girl's phone was like admitting guilt. However, Maddie still didn't want to believe that Xavier had killed her. She thought Xavier was investigating her death, but Simon declared Xavier a murderer and decided to teach him a lesson. When Simon and Nicole blocked his path, Maddie followed them to find clues. However, she was surprised to find herself back at the school's incinerator. Staring at the blood on the pipes, Maddie pondered for a long time. She seemed to recall something, but it didn't help her understand why she had died. Unable to leave the school, find her body, or determine the cause of her death, Maddie was utterly devastated. As days passed, many people, including Maddie's mother, came to the gym. Since Maddie's body was not found, they could only hold a memorial service for her. Xavier wanted to attend, but was turned away by the police. Maddie followed to hear what was happening. As she stepped out, she learned the police officer was Xavier's father. He had told his father about hiding Maddie's phone. It turns out, while Xavier and Maddie were dating, Xavier had feelings for another girl, Claire from the cheer squad. He planned to ask Claire out but mistakenly sent the message to Maddie. While Maddie hadn't yet read the message, Xavier stole her phone to delete it, but this led to significant consequences. Maddie was heartbroken, unable to believe her boyfriend would betray her. That evening, everyone lit candles at Maddie's memorial service. Simon, overwhelmed with grief, didn't attend. He sat alone in the classroom crying. The police took Xavier away, but a surprise occurred that night. Maddie went to find Simon and thank him. Unexpectedly, he could see her. Charlie was shocked as it was unprecedented for the living to see a spirit. Maddie explained to Simon that Xavier was not the murderer. At that moment, Nicole walked in, obviously unable to see Maddie. She called Simon outside. Maddie, confused, asked Charlie what was happening, but he didn't understand since nothing like this had ever happened before. Maddie decided to talk to Simon, but when she ran outside, Simon couldn't see her. Maddie ran out of the school only to return to the incinerator. She asked the other spirits what was happening, but as expected, they didn't know either. To investigate further, Maddie went to find Simon to ask him to look into the cause of her death. To help Maddie, Simon asked if she remembered how she had left the incinerator. Hearing Simon's question, Maddie seemed to recall something. She remembered fainting in the incinerator and then being awakened by dripping liquids on her face. After waking up, she saw blood on the wall. Then she saw Xavier leaving the classroom, but her life was interrupted. Immediately afterward, Simon began searching Xavier's locker but found nothing. Maddie then took him to an abandoned repair shop on the school grounds, where she and Xavier used to meet. Indeed, Simon discovered a fragment of Maddie's phone. After they left the repair shop and began discussing whether the fragment was from Maddie's phone, Mr. Anderson, the English teacher, passed by. He said he didn't believe Maddie was dead and urged Simon not to give up looking for her. Seeing how much Mr. Anderson cared, Maddie wanted his help. Therefore, Simon gave the fragment to Mr. Anderson. The police, who are also Xavier's father, returned home looking for him. He told Xavier that he was now the prime suspect because the police had cracked the password to open the phone, but found no information. The phone appeared to be completely new. He reminded Xavier to stay home and not go anywhere, including school. But Xavier, being a stubborn young man, didn't listen to his father. While his father was on the phone, Xavier sneaked out on his bike and then went to a house. This was Maddie's house, where Xavier met Maddie's mother. Xavier wanted to ask her about Maddie's phone because he knew the phone at the police station wasn't Maddie's. He thought maybe Maddie's mother had hidden it, so he went there to look. But Maddie's mother asked if he had hurt Maddie. Xavier didn't know how to respond. On their side, Maddie and Simon were still anxiously looking for clues. Maddie had been harmed by someone for some reason, and the evidence was in her phone. So taking advantage of a heavy rainy night, Simon sneaked into the repair shop. He wanted to find more clues about the phone. Indeed, Simon found another fragment. Mr. Anderson led Simon out of the repair shop. He told him to hurry back and not to talk about this to anyone. Simon wanted to ask why Anderson was at the repair shop, but he insisted Simon go back. The next day, Maddie and Simon started discussing again because they didn't expect Anderson to be involved in this. Anderson was a teacher Maddie respected. Outside of class, he gave Maddie advice and his phone number. He told her to come to him if she needed help, but now, why was he at the repair shop? Showing he was involved in this? So the two decided to investigate Anderson. Simon asked for Nicole's help. Nicole distracted Anderson. Simon sneaked into the teacher's room, stole the car keys, and got into Anderson's car. Indeed, Simon found a phone fragment there. Anderson said he would submit the fragment to the police, but unexpectedly he had hidden it there. The current suspect was Anderson, but Maddie still didn't believe that the teacher she respected could be the murderer. Maddie went to find Charlie for help. Charlie told Maddie to ask a spirit named Rhonda because Rhonda was harmed by the head teacher. Rhonda told Maddie that 30 years ago, a teacher who really liked her helped her with her homework every day and even helped her get into Berkeley. But when Rhonda succeeded in getting into the university, she planned to tell the good news to the teacher, but he demanded she sleep with him. Rhonda refused, so the teacher killed her that same day. Knowing this, Maddie truly couldn't believe it, so she looked for documents about that head teacher. She found out that Mr. Anderson's office was remodeled from that head teacher's office. On this side, Nicole was also looking for clues. Suddenly, Maddie's account liked a post on Nicole's social media and commented below asking her to meet somewhere. Nicole thought Maddie wasn't dead, so she ran to the rooftop. But she didn't find anything there. Suddenly, Xavier appeared, startling Nicole. Xavier said he came there to investigate why Maddie disappeared, so he followed her there. Moreover, he didn't know about the like, Xavier explained for a while. Nicole chose to trust him. The two talked for a while, forgetting to investigate who had used Maddie's social media account. The two discussed and invited Maddie's mother into the forest near the school to look for clues. Maddie and Simon were searching in Anderson's office. They searched for a while but found nothing. Xavier's group discovered clues under a tree in the forest. It was Maddie's petition with a man's footprint on it. It proved that Maddie had followed a man into the forest. Maddie and Simon didn't find any clues. When they were about to leave the room, Anderson unexpectedly returned. They hid in the closet. Anderson came back looking very angry. He was talking on the phone to someone, and even mentioned Maddie. After Anderson finished speaking, he left the office. Maddie was very confused as to why Anderson said he had given her money. But while thinking, they discovered a secret compartment in the cabinet behind. Inside, they found a lot of money. Simon and Maddie didn't understand why Anderson had hidden so much money, but they knew it was related to Maddie's death. To uncover the truth, Maddie wanted to see Anderson's message history, but she didn't have his password, so she couldn't access his phone. Maddie hurriedly went to find more evidence. She called Simon for help, but he was in the middle of an exam, and didn't respond to her. Once the exam was over and Anderson had drawn the curtains, Simon took the opportunity to steal Anderson's phone. Maddie didn't know where Simon had gone, so she had to return to the gym where other spirits were also present. She approached them to ask if they had any information about Mr. Anderson. A spirit named Wally mentioned he had once seen Anderson misspell someone's name at a fundraiser, which was odd since Anderson taught English. The other spirits had no information. Maddie decided to ask more spirits to gather additional information. Simon stole Anderson's phone, but didn't know the password, so he couldn't unlock it. At that moment, Nicole mentioned that they had found Maddie's petition in the forest the previous night but discovered no traces. Despite this potentially useful find, Simon was preoccupied with Anderson's phone. He told Nicole that he could see Maddie, but Nicole thought he was just hallucinating from grief. Disappointed, Simon left. They were unaware that the school's psychological counselor had been observing everything. The counselor even persuaded Simon to come to the counseling room for therapy. At that moment, Anderson's phone suddenly activated its anti-theft system, and he went to retrieve it. Seeing this, Simon left. Nicole was in the school's broadcast room participating in a talk show. Claire was there too. She was the face of the school and acted as the host. The broadcast was live across the school. As Claire was sharing her thoughts, she suddenly mentioned Maddie, suggesting that if Maddie had been found sooner, perhaps the accident wouldn't have happened. Nicole heard this and immediately questioned Claire about her knowledge, but the director cut them off because the broadcast was live. Claire realized she had misspoken and denied what she had just said, but it was clear she knew something. Maddie, among other spirits, was suddenly approached by Simon, who had something important to discuss. He told Maddie about Anderson's phone and advised her to keep an eye on Anderson to prevent him from harming anyone else. But Maddie suggested that Simon should find Nicole since both were alive, and even if Maddie discovered anything, she couldn't do much as a spirit. Simon heard this and went to look for Nicole. After Simon left, Wally and another spirit came to Maddie. They suggested she seek out a female spirit who often lingered in the auditorium, as she might know something. Maddie immediately ran there and indeed noticed something odd. It seemed someone was upstairs. She approached the noise and loudly said, "Mina, it's me, Maddie, the new girl." But Mina did not welcome her. She explained she was always there to prevent others from accidentally encountering the same fate as hers. Despite her efforts, no one thanked her, so she refused to answer Maddie. Maddie left to continue her search and discovered a logo on the ground. Suddenly, a spirit named Dawn approached Maddie. Knowing Maddie was looking for clues, she agreed to help. Dawn mentioned she knew many other spirits who might assist Maddie. But when Maddie approached them, no one paid attention to her. Yet, Maddie managed to find another clue. Meanwhile, Simon ran into trouble. Anderson had reported his phone missing, making Simon the prime suspect and leading to his arrest. The police took Simon to the station. Simon told the officers about Mr. Anderson hiding a large amount of money in his office and suggested he might have killed Maddie. However, the police mentioned that Anderson had already handed over a piece of Maddie's broken phone to them. They also discovered another fragment at Simon's desk. Thus, he too became a suspect. Regarding the cash, they had searched the entire office and found nothing. Given the lack of clues in Maddie's case, the police speculated it was a drama concocted by Maddie herself. They suspected she staged the assault scene, swapped phones, and colluded with a friend to blame the teacher, all to disappear from this city. With Simon no longer present, Maddie could only seek help from other spirits. They investigated the school's history and discovered that the logo Maddie found was from the school band's old uniforms. Regarding this, they still needed to ask Mina. Maddie gave Mina a bouquet of flowers and asked for her help. Since Mina liked the flowers, she agreed to help Maddie. Maddie immediately showed the logo and asked about Anderson. Mina said she knew this logo because Anderson had once come to the auditorium to cause trouble. Mina led Maddie down to the basement, where, besides performance props, there were many old and new school logos. At that moment, Wally discovered an order form. It was an order for a large quantity of band uniforms, signed by Anderson. Wally thought they needed to tell Simon about this. After Simon returned to school, Maddie found him and asked him to report Mr. Anderson. Seeing clear evidence, Simon immediately agreed. He stormed into the teacher's meeting room with the new style of band uniforms and showed them to the principal, saying that Anderson had faked them, using school funds to buy cheap uniforms and then swapping the logos. Although Simon couldn't prove Anderson was Maddie's killer, he could prove that Anderson had done these bad things. While all the spirits were watching a movie at the football field, Dawn suddenly took out a phone to take a photo with Maddie. Maddie asked Dawn where she got the phone, and Dawn said she found it on the stage. Maddie wondered how Dawn could unlock the phone. Dawn said she knew everyone's passwords. Dawn, what do you mean? Maddie ran out frantically. She now needed to find Simon before he left because she knew Anderson's phone password. Simon! Phone 95,273. Claire was about to perform when she received a call, but ignored it and hung up immediately. You reached Claire's number. Do me a favor and just text me, okay? The murder suspect suddenly became Claire. Neither of them could have anticipated this, as Claire was not only a top student in everyone's eyes, but also Maddie's close friend. When they were younger, they were like sisters, but they had grown apart because Claire secretly loved Maddie's future boyfriend. However, Maddie didn't believe Claire was her murderer. A few days ago, when a student accidentally drowned in the pool, Claire immediately jumped in to save them. From her actions, it was clear that she did not look like a murderer at all. But regardless, all current clues pointed towards Claire. To investigate thoroughly, Maddie and Simon followed Claire at her birthday party. Maddie even searched Claire's purse, but found nothing suspicious. Just as they were about to give up, Claire met with the principal. Since Claire's father was a major shareholder of the school, the principal valued her highly. Claire approached the principal regarding Anderson's situation. Because he faked the uniforms, he had been suspended from teaching for a week. Moreover, the police had no other clues. Anderson was also the advisor for Claire's thesis. Therefore, she asked the principal to allow Anderson to return to school. She said if the principal didn't let him return, she would have her father withdraw his investment from the school. Although Maddie didn't find any clues, her mother made a new discovery. She was still tirelessly asking relatives to look for clues. Not long ago, someone called saying they had found Maddie's backpack at their old house. Since the police found nothing there when she disappeared, the discovery of the backpack suggested Maddie hadn't died and might have run away for some reason. This news brought hope to her mother. Xavier shared this with Simon, but Simon was indifferent and even avoided him. Nicole, seeing Simon's indifference towards his friends, angrily left. Despite losing the support of his two friends, Simon remained calm and continued to search for clues on his own. He then went to find the janitor to get the keys to Anderson's office, as he had a good relationship with the janitor who lent him the keys. Maddie, feeling dejected, was sitting and drawing when she suddenly saw her mother arrive. Previously, Maddie's mother rarely visited her school unless something happened. Maddie followed her mother to the head teacher's office. Maddie saw that her mother was no longer sad but optimistic. Through their conversation, Maddie learned that her mother had discovered her backpack. She believed that Maddie was still alive, which became a source of hope that helped her carry on. Maddie was deeply moved seeing her mother like this. However, as she and her mother were leaving the office, she discovered Simon in Anderson's office. Maddie suggested that perhaps they should stop looking for clues because she saw her mother happy again. It might be the best outcome. If they continued to investigate and accidentally proved that Maddie had been murdered, it would be a severe blow to her mother. But Simon disagreed. He showed Maddie Claire's thesis, saying it was all copied from a decades-old thesis. Yet Anderson had given it a grade. Although this was a significant finding, Maddie was not concerned. She was more focused on her mother's positive attitude. At that time, Claire sought out Anderson. She asked him what he had told the police and whether he had revealed anything crucial, particularly whether he had implicated her. However, Anderson was very cold. On the other side, Xavier was diligently searching for traces of Maddie. He sneaked into Maddie's old house at night. He was surprised to find someone had been there before him. The school was hosting a festival while everyone was very cheerful and excited. But Claire, the dance team captain, arrived late and looked worried. It seemed she had gone through something she didn't want anyone to know. As she was resting, a police officer walked by, making her more nervous. After the officer left, she ran to a trash can and vomited. Taking advantage of the crowded festival, Maddie's mother and a close friend also came to distribute flyers looking for Maddie. But something strange happened. As the festival was about to end, Simon, Nicole, and Xavier each received a video. This video involved Claire and Anderson. In the video, they were arguing about Anderson stealing money and mentioned keeping it a secret, or they would both be in trouble. Maddie was sitting at the festival when she suddenly saw her mother staring at her. Maddie thought her mother could see her, but it turned out she was just looking for Maddie. When she couldn't find her daughter, she left disappointed. At that moment, Simon approached and showed Maddie the video of Claire. Maddie saw her mother's disappointed expression and realized her mother was not optimistic at all. She just hoped her daughter would return alive. Maddie decided to find the murderer to help her mother regain her optimism. Simon took Maddie to meet Xavier because he understood Maddie best. They had been in love, So Maddie asks Simon to teach Xavier how to get back with Claire and to text her. After finishing, Simon remembered something from that morning when he had found the janitor to borrow the keys. When he opened the door, he saw the janitor watching a video, so he suspected the video they received was sent by the janitor. They then went to the janitor's place. Unexpectedly, the janitor said he didn't know anything because he had watched a different video. This video recorded the discovery of Maddie's blood in the incinerator, because after the police announced Maddie wasn't dead, some people had come there to write unpleasant words. Maddie didn't pay attention to this video. She went to the incinerator. Simon immediately followed Maddie. Then they went to a storage room that hadn't been cleaned for a long time. But what surprised them was that they discovered a secret tunnel in the wall. But when they searched, they didn't find any clues. Just like that, the clue they were about to find was lost. They had no other choice but to rely on Xavier, because Simon had taught Xavier how to flirt with Claire since they had also been in love. As expected, Claire still loved Xavier and quickly agreed to get back together with him. Because of this, Maddie and Simon began to believe that Claire was the murderer. But now they lacked evidence, so they needed Xavier to attend the school dance. At the dance, other spirits from the school also participated. Despite being from two different worlds, they enjoyed such festive events. Meanwhile, Claire unexpectedly went to the school bathroom to look for Xavier, wanting to ask him to be her dance partner. The school dance proceeded as planned, with everyone dressed in their finest. Claire went to pick up Xavier, but unexpectedly, she stopped the car halfway there and even locked the doors. Maddie also attended the dance in a beautiful dress, but sadly, as a spirit, only Simon could see her. During the dance, an incident occurred with Maddie's mother. Normally, she would sit and watch TV while eating popcorn, but suddenly, she saw someone's shadow pass by the window. Curious, Maddie's mother quickly turned off the TV and looked out the window but saw nothing. She then took a flashlight outside to see what was happening. On his side, Xavier, under the influence of alcohol, questioned Claire about the old house. After a pause, she responded, asking if he suspected she was secretly meeting someone there. Stunned for a moment, she then asked if he was accusing her of cheating. Disappointed, Xavier left and went to Simon and Nicole. He told them he had discovered that Claire was very good at lying. He asked them not to bother him anymore, and then walked away. But just as Xavier left, Simon and Nicole simultaneously received a message from Maddie's mother. Seeing this, Nicole called to confirm the information. Given the situation, to keep an eye on Xavier, Simon could only ask Nicole to go help Maddie's mother. Xavier took Claire to the school's incinerator. Even though the phone was discovered, Xavier didn't panic. He immediately took control of the situation and confronted Claire. He told her he knew she had swapped Maddie's phone because she was the only one in the school who could quickly get a fake phone. He then pulled out a secret video of her conversation with Anderson and threatened to give it to the police if she didn't speak up. Claire, feeling scared and confused, faced with her secrets being exposed, could only claim that she accidentally discovered Anderson using drugs. She used this as leverage to blackmail Anderson into giving her thesis a high grade. Regarding the phone, Claire explained that on the day she and Anderson were arguing, Maddie accidentally saw them. Fearing Maddie might record or take a video, she swapped the phones and destroyed hers. To cover her tracks, she had asked the English teacher to pay Maddie to keep quiet. Claire said that was all she did, and she really didn't know anything about Maddie's death. She just did these things to maintain her noble image at school. I didn't hurt Maddie. I don't know who did. Afterward, Xavier told Simon what Claire had said. He also mentioned that he now trusted Claire because of her honesty, but they couldn't unlock Maddie's phone. Thus, Xavier's lead also broke off. But fortunately, Maddie's mother had good news. When Nicole went to help Maddie's mother, suddenly there was a knock at the door. They opened it to find the chief of police. He said they had new findings. The police investigation had recently uncovered new clues. He went to the old house and found a bloody crowbar in the grass. Based on these new clues, they identified a suspect's house. He was the school janitor. Hearing this, Maddie's mother was pained and desperate because she had just been certain that Maddie was still alive. This news extinguished the last bit of hope she had. As Maddie and Simon were discussing what to do next, they suddenly overheard someone downstairs discussing the police finding the crowbar. But unexpectedly, they had been out in the rain digging something up. As the week passed, Simon had no idea what was going on and suddenly went to find Nicole. Since the dance night, Nicole hadn't been to school for a week. Simon went to her because of Maddie's case. They were about to graduate, but they still hadn't found any clues, and the janitor was just a suspect. If they didn't find the murderer before graduation, Maddie's spirit might be trapped in the school forever. While they were talking, Simon discovered Nicole's graduation project, which contained many pictures of Maddie. Seeing this, Simon came over to comfort Nicole. Despite their long investigation and changing suspects, they still hadn't found the culprit. But Simon was shocked to find out that after he left, Nicole had thrown all of Maddie's pictures into the incinerator. On Maddie's side, the spirits tried everything they could, but still no clues were found. Just then, a spirit named Wally mentioned that he had read in an old book that people could sometimes recover lost memories through external sensory stimuli. So everyone tried to make Maddie smell unpleasant odors and eat horrible tasting food, and even played annoying music, but nothing worked. Just as they were about to give up, a spirit named Dawn spoke up, saying that in her lifetime, she had studied psychology. She explained that during hypnosis, a person's mind becomes empty, allowing another spirit to take over, which she believed could be useful. On the other side, Simon and Xavier were discussing a new plan because the police were temporarily holding a janitor, and there was no solid evidence to prove he was the murderer. So the police had no choice but to release him. Xavier also expressed his belief that the janitor was not the culprit because he was a gentleman. Moreover, Maddie had disappeared during the 8th period when the janitor was repairing a window in the men's bathroom, where Xavier was hiding because he was trying to unlock Maddie's phone. Claire was also curious about who had filmed her talking to Anderson. The clues were becoming more and more unclear. At that moment, Nicole suddenly asked why Claire had previously said, "She distances herself from everyone, but now she's suddenly helpful? Is she trying to deceive others?" This comment also made Xavier uncomfortable. Seeing this, Simon immediately went to console Nicole. After all, since Maddie's disappearance, Nicole had never lost control like that. But Nicole didn't accept Simon's consolation and angrily left. All of this also made Simon a bit suspicious. But since they were close friends, he didn't think too much about it. Simon went out to the parking lot and saw Claire smashing her own car window. Claire explained that she wanted to use this as a way to call the police, claiming someone had vandalized her car, possibly the person who had harmed Maddie. This would then draw police attention while others sneaked in to retrieve evidence the police had collected. Indeed, everything went very smoothly. 2 police officers were dispatched to the school to investigate. Claire, at the forefront, attracted the attention of the school police. Since Xavier's father was a police officer, and Xavier often went to the police station to look for his father, he knew the layout well. Therefore, they sneaked into the evidence room and immediately found evidence related to Maddie's case. However, Simon suddenly realized the evidence had been tampered with, so he quickly asked Xavier whether they had discovered Maddie's footprints in the forest together, or if it was only Nicole who had found them. On the other side, Nicole, in a panic, went to the school computer room and took over a boy's computer. After a teacher approached, she asked if there was a backup if the folder on the computer was deleted. Surprisingly, the teacher said it wouldn't be lost because the computer automatically saves data every 3 minutes. Simon went back to the school to find Maddie and told her about Nicole's lies. However, Maddie refused to believe Nicole was the murderer because they were close friends, and they had only argued once over a meal choice, which Nicole left in anger to eat alone, but it was just a minor issue. Furthermore, Maddie had apologized at that time, so she believed Nicole couldn't be the murderer. However, now Simon thought anyone could be the suspect, so they had to be cautious. After Simon left, Maddie immediately went to Dawn. Now she wanted Dawn to use hypnosis to help her recover her memory. But after trying for a while, not only did Maddie not regain her memory, but Dawn also recalled her own painful memories. Having no other option, they gave up, unaware that the hypnosis had some effect on Maddie. At that moment, after Claire and Xavier had searched the janitor's room for a while, they found some clues. That day, Claire had met the music teacher, and the janitor had accidentally walked by and wrote everything into the school schedule. That day was also the cheerleading team's practice day. That day, after Simon's class finished an exam, Maddie came to find him. Simon told her everything, so they decided to meet Nicole. Nicole was in the computer room deleting files, unaware that she had been exposed. Simon got straight to the point, asking Nicole why she did it. Was it because of their argument during dinner? Nicole still wanted to keep it from Simon. With no other option, Simon threatened to take her to the police station. After being threatened, Nicole couldn't take it anymore and confessed the truth. She had filmed the conversation between Claire and Anderson to blackmail Anderson, but she was not the one who killed Maddie. The 3 of them had promised to apply to the same university, but because Nicole's abilities were weak, the teacher said she couldn't get into the university she wanted. Claire wanted money to get into the school she liked, so when she accidentally caught Claire talking to Anderson, she filmed it to blackmail Anderson. Nicole said that was all she did. She really didn't know who killed Maddie. After hearing this, Simon was very moved, but reason still overtook his emotions. He continued to ask Nicole where the money was now. If the police knew Anderson didn't keep the money, they could exonerate him. With things having reached this point, Nicole could only take them to where she hid the money. But as the group passed through the hallway, Dawn suddenly called Maddie back. She apologized to Maddie for not being able to help her. Maddie didn't say much, just comforted Dawn and then left. But after Maddie left, Dawn was liberated. Nicole led Simon into the woods where she hid the money and started digging, but found no money. The money was gone. On the other side, Maddie's mother was in Maddie's room holding an envelope full of money. After opening it, she was shocked and put the money back in the drawer. At that moment, Maddie came over and saw the two people digging the ground as if she remembered something. But then Maddie suddenly saw a dark figure in the woods. She wanted to remind Simon and his group, but she was just a spirit. No matter how much she shouted, Simon couldn't hear her. Fortunately, Nicole also noticed and quickly alerted Simon. Simon thought it was the murderer, so he grabbed a shovel and chased after it. Suddenly, old memories came back to Maddie. It seemed like her mother was the one who had killed her. To investigate, Maddie asked Simon to sneak into the house to look for the hidden money. Indeed, Simon found the envelope full of money. Simon then took the envelope and the item inside and brought it to Maddie. It was the necklace Maddie wore when she was alive. Seeing this necklace, Maddie was sure her mother was the murderer, because before the accident she had worn this necklace, but afterward it had disappeared. So the most important thing at that moment was to figure out how to get Maddie's mother to come to school to investigate. But how to get her mother to come to school? Maddie remembered that before she died, her essay had won first place. Simon used that as a reason to call Maddie's mother to school to receive the award for her. Indeed, Maddie's mother came to the school. Simon intended to ask Maddie's mother, but didn't know how to speak. Maddie's mother sensed something was off, so she made an excuse to leave. As she was about to go, Simon took out Maddie's necklace. Seeing the necklace, Maddie's mother was not angry but instead showed sorrow. Simon placed the necklace on the table and asked if she was the one who killed Maddie. But at that moment, her mother was so heartbroken she couldn't speak. Maddie tried to pick up the necklace, but as soon as she touched it, she remembered everything. It turned out that on graduation day, her mother came to school looking for Maddie. Because Maddie's mother was addicted to drugs, she didn't want her friends to see and led her mother to the stairs to talk. Her mother told her they were about to move to a new house because Maddie's mother had used Maddie's university money to buy a beachside house. Upon hearing that her college tuition money was gone, Maddie was somewhat angry. She was about to express her anger towards her mother when the school bell rang. She didn't want her friends to see her mother, so she led her to the school's incinerator. Maddie wanted her mother to return the money, but because her mother was not in a sober state, she refused, and they argued. Seeing her mother like that made Maddie very sad. Unable to persuade her mother, Maddie decided to return a necklace to her, wanting to sever the ties between her and her mother. Her mother took the necklace and left. Maddie, heartbroken, sat in the incinerator and cried, realizing then that she had no hope for college anymore. This also showed that her mother was not the murderer. Although they came to the incinerator together, her mother left before any clues were destroyed. On the other hand, Xavier was trying to clear the janitor's name. He went to the police station to find his father. Xavier wanted to tell about the day Maddie's incident occurred. The janitor was with him in the men's restroom. But the police chief didn't listen to his son. Xavier secretly took a photo of the address written in the police book. He then met with Nicole and Claire. Xavier thought perhaps the police had investigated that address and found new clues, so the three decided to check it out. The three of them quietly went to the address written in the book late at night. Nicole was about to call Simon for help, but he was attending Maddie's thesis award ceremony and couldn't answer his phone. With no other choice, the three continued to act to avoid detection and leave no trace. They decided to leave Claire in the car to keep watch. Xavier and Nicole would go inside. After checking each room, they made a new discovery. Nicole found signs that someone had been there and had just left. This could prove that it was likely the residence of the murderer. While Claire was outside on guard, she suddenly spotted someone in black also sneaking into the house. Fearing Xavier might be in trouble, she rushed inside. Nicole said someone was there. But as they were about to leave, the door suddenly closed. Claire called for Xavier to save her. Hearing the noise, Xavier intended to run and rescue his girlfriend, but only took a few steps before running into a person in black. Just like that, the murderer drove away in their car. Xavier was stabbed and lay unconscious, but fortunately, Nicole had recorded the whole process. But when she reviewed the video, she couldn't believe it. She quickly sent the video to Simon for verification. Simon received the message and ran to meet Maddie. He didn't immediately show Maddie the video. Maddie said she had thought it through. She said no matter who the perpetrator was, she didn't want to cause trouble for anyone anymore. Therefore, she wanted Simon's group to stop investigating and let things happen naturally. After hearing these words, Simon was very moved, but still showed Maddie the video Nicole sent because the face of the murderer Nicole caught was actually Maddie. Simon didn't listen to Maddie's explanation, thinking the spirit he saw was just a hallucination. Maddie chased after Simon, but as soon as she stepped out of the school, she returned to the incinerator. She heard someone calling for help. The cries for help made Maddie remember everything. That day when her mother left, Maddie also heard this cry for help. She followed the sound inside. Maddie heard the voice behind the metal door. She tried to open the door but couldn't unlock it. Inside the locked door were spirits, including Wally. They told Maddie a frightening truth. It turns out that last time, Dawn's spirit was liberated. The spirits suspected that there might really be a way for spirits to leave the school, so they asked Teacher Martin. But not only did he not answer everyone's questions, he also scolded everyone for thinking nonsense. So the spirits had to investigate on their own. They discovered that for decades, Martin had lied about the cause of his death. It turned out he had caused his own demise. All this was because the school was built over a chemical laboratory. Martin wanted to use this lab to control human spirits and trap the spirits within the school. He decided to commit suicide in order to live longer and to use the trapped spirits for his experiments. Maddie accidentally saw his experiment, so she was killed. The death of all the spirits trapped in the school was also related to him. But Maddie didn't die and was transformed into another person. Perhaps she was the key figure to end this experiment, but now she knew it was too late. On the other side, the person in black who had just escaped was heading to the bus station to buy a ticket to leave this city. She was carrying a bag full of money and calling herself Maddie. This is where the film ends. Thank you for watching.